Okay, Representative Hilferty.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Chairman Garofalo, you mentioned you received specific examples from residents of Louisiana without naming names or even locations. Can you give examples of what they told you?
Yeah, they're telling, primarily it was employees and teachers telling me that they're being forced to take trainings that are advocating for these theories that are, I don't want to say anything I shouldn't say, but
you're not. I mean, we're giving
I know.
like,
that's the primary focus of it. The parents that I spoke to are giving me examples of handouts that they're being given.
Like, what does the handout say?
Handouts saying, United States is a racist country, that corporations are, inherently racist and have a bias against.
Can you share examples of these with the committee?
Not without jeopardizing the privacy of the people that gave them to me.
I mean, you could redact that information, I would imagine.
No, but if I give you the specific, you could tell where it came from, and I can't do it. So I promised not to do it. They've implored me not to do it. So it was only a few examples. It wasn't a lot, but they were there, and that's
okay. So you cannot give us.
It was given out. Not as not for the truth of the statements that were in the assignment, but it was given out as a punctuation assignment, so that you were supposed to punctuate the statements, and that's the way it was given out. So it wasn't like a history class.
I think many of us would appreciate seeing that if you could redact out the information.
I will talk to the people that gave it to me and ask if they mind. There were examples on Facebook, and I saw them months ago, but if I can go back and find those, I'll get those to you as well.
Okay. Bessie is overviewing social studies curriculum this year, correct?
Yes.
Would that not be a time without the legislature coming in and not knowing the entire story for multiple sides to come? I know Rep. Duplessis had a bill last year that looked at how our students are taught certain things in history. Why would we not just engage in that process?
This is a bigger issue. This is dealing with more than just the social studies curriculum. This is dealing with curriculum in general. It's dealing with the environment for employees, teachers, and other employees alike, and it's dealing with higher ed administration, teachers, and employees. So this goes well beyond the scope of the study that's occurring right now for the curriculum, the social studies curriculum in K through 12.
But I think that's a part of it, and that would be a place where multiple parties could engage in what is being taught and how it is being taught.
Absolutely, and that's what's going on as far as the social studies curriculum goes. But the social studies curriculum does not touch the other areas that this bill does.
Let's talk about page 4, section E, line 21.
On the original bill?
This is the bill that you had marked up for us and sent us that shows the red line changes. So that might be a little different, but I think it is section E. It says nothing in the section but shall be construed to do any of the following: inhibit or violate First Amendment rights of students or employees, and or undermine intellectual freedom or freedom of expression, prevent a school from promoting racial, cultural, ethnic, intellectual, or academic diversity or inclusiveness if such efforts are consistent with the provisions of this section. Is that section it's referring back to the entire bill?
Yeah, that's when you use that term, when it's capitalized, it's referring to this section of law.
Section 3, Part 3 of this. Prohibited discussion of divisive concepts as part of a larger course of academic instruction. To me, what you're saying here contradicts much of the bill, and when I initially reviewed this bill, I found it confusing and hard to follow, and I think when we give it to a teacher in the classroom, I don't know how they are going to make this section E seems to contradict what you're saying in the rest of the bill. So what would you consider part of a larger course of academic instruction?
First off, if you go to page 4, line 16, it says D1, each school governing authority shall adopt policies and procedures for the investigation of complaints relative to noncompliance with this section. So the policies and procedures sets out what the policies and procedures should maintain. So the teachers won't get this bill the teachers will receive the policies and procedures as set out by the district.
Okay, but let's go back to part 3 of this. Prohibit discussion of divisive concepts as part of a larger course of academic instruction. What does that mean?
Exactly what it says. I mean, the words on the page are if there's
But what is a larger course of academic instruction?
if you're having a discussion on whatever the case may be on slavery, then you can talk about everything dealing with slavery: the good, the bad, the ugly,
There's no good to slavery, though.
Well, then whatever the case may be, you're right. I didn't mean to imply that, and that I don't believe that, and I know that that's the case. But I'm using that good, bad, and ugly as a generic way of saying that you can teach any factually based anything, regardless.
None of us were around when slavery occurred. We can rely on the history that was written about that time. We can rely on primary documents that we have found, but nobody sitting here on the earth was around when the United States had slavery. So
none of us were alive when most of history was written.
History is constantly being written. It is a fluid concept.
How can history? A fact is a fact. So I don't understand what you mean by a fluid. Please explain to me what you mean by a fluid concept.
I'm saying history is yesterday. History is 2 days ago.
And what occurred. That's exactly what I'm saying. We agree on that.
But we can experience the same event and potentially have differing views. I mean, you know that as an attorney, that witness testimony can vary. It comes back to there are divisive concepts that are taught in the larger course of academic instruction, and the first part of this bill seems to contradict the ability that you're allowing them to teach divisive concepts as a part of a larger course of academic instruction. And I think that's when many of the opponents have had trouble reconciling those two ideas.
When you teach a concept and you're giving all sides of the concept, and I'll
But
tell
let's
you, there's no good side to slavery. I get that. I don't think anybody in this room would argue that fact. I'd be really shocked if they did. But if there's a different concept that you're trying to teach, you teach the concept. You teach as it was conceptually brought in, and you don't give a personal opinion. You don't give a politically based, ideologically based opinion. You teach what occurred, what is generally accepted by the historians in the area, and what's proscribed by the curriculum that the district has chosen.
Which is what we are studying with the Bessie overview coming up.
Exactly, correct. Yes, that's exactly right.
So then that can be a part of that conversation. But I think there are some events that have occurred that there is no other side to teach. That many, the Anti-Defamation League contacted me about this bill. And they're very concerned with the teachings of what happened during the Holocaust and what happened in Nazi Germany and the atrocities that happened. There is no good side to that. I don't know how you would teach a rounded perspective of that.
If it's factually based in what's generally accepted as being a fact of what occurred in history, you can teach it. I'm just saying you don't take a personal position. You don't bring political ideology in to influence that course of study, whether it's math, history, and that, again, to get back to your question about the curriculum study that's going on right now, that's dealing strictly with social studies. It doesn't deal with any of the other courses of instruction, nor will that touch the training and the different, whatever the teachers and the staff are receiving.
I have no further questions. Thank you.